and Mr. Sharad Sharma, founder of iSpurt. Thank you for joining all of us on the stage, and our session will be moderated by Ms. Shobana Subramanian, our Deputy Managing Editor, Financial Express. Shobana, it's over to you.
Good evening, everyone. A very, very warm welcome to all of you on this lovely evening in the midst of Ganpati celebrations. We thank you all for being here, and we believe you will have an enjoyable evening because this discussion promises to be scintillating. So without much ado, I will tell you a little bit of what we're going to talk about. This is about technology in credit and whether it can move the table. So we all know that India's stack is here. We all know that India has the best digital public infrastructure. But at the same time, this digital lending has reached perhaps 30 or 40 million families in this country. The problem is that the next 100 million or the next 200 million still seem out of reach, though it is true that there are lending tech companies that are trying to reach out to them. There are a couple of issues that we will talk about. The first is we'll try to understand whether there is an innovation deficit and whether we are depending too much on startups to do our innovation for us. So I won't tell you more, and we'll get started because this promises to be exciting. So Mr. Khara, if I could begin with you. The unified lending interface has just been announced by the RBI governor, and it does prima facie promise to further financial inclusion through microloans. So what do you feel, sir? Do you think that this can be a game changer?
Well, when it comes to unified lending interface, intention is to replicate what the UPI has done. UPI was a transaction model, and ULI is a lending model. So when it comes to lending, there's one component is transaction, the other component is appraisal. And as far as appraisal is concerned also, the process relating to appraisal gets simplified to a greater extent because the interface with the digital ecosystem which is available, which can be leveraged, is something which can be put to a good use. And in fact, now this ULI is being talked about, but various banks have already adopted various kind of digital tools for ensuring the last mile fulfillment. And again, there was a AgriStack which came into existence. Again, various banks had the advantage of having their analytical models, which they used. So I think in bits and pieces, all this thing had started happening immediately around the COVID period. And now, of course, it is now being integrated into ULI. And the intention is that the SME segment, which is something which is having a crying need for the finance, if their crying need of finance can be met to a greater extent by the digital lending, is something which is being attempted. But I still believe that a greater part of the appraisal can be done, but the decision engine is something which will have to be integrated into this end-to-end journey, digital journey. And unless and until that is taken care of, there could be challenges. Having said that, when it comes to agricultural loans up to 1.60 lakh, no mortgage requirement is not there, but beyond that, there will be mortgage requirement. Land records in about 20 odd states have already been digitized. So in such states, it will become much easier. When it comes to mortgage loan, in principle approvals can be given. But when it comes to last mile, there are still some gaps.
Now, what are those gaps? Because, as of today, if you're saying 20 states, the land records have been digitized. And the appraisal process is pretty much there. So why is it not moving?
No, see, the point is that when it comes to mortgaging the particular asset, So of course NSCL has come into existence, so they are facilitating that. But these are the early days, and when it is being implemented, there are always nut and bolt issues which needs to be addressed. So I think we are very much near to there, but are we already there? There's a lot of work being done. I think maybe another quarter to 2 quarters, it should happen.
So you feel that, facilitating this through UPI payments will make a difference?
Whether it is UPI payment or otherwise, the payment rails could be any. UPI is just one of the payment rails. It can be actually handled by the bank themselves also. In fact, if I may give you some example, there was something known as PSB Online, which actually started many years back only as an application sourcing platform. But yes, over the period of time, it could be developed into something which has become very vibrant now. So of course, when it started, nobody could visualize that what all will it turn out to be. But today, it has become a very viable source of sourcing the applications.
Okay.
So these kind of things, of course, take some time. But I think ULI is actually quite advanced today. And as far as experimentation was going on for quite some time. In some of the states, already the KCC loans are being dispensed, which was end-to-end digital also, and which is actually few minutes only the loans can be disbursed.
Okay.
So this has already happened. Those pilots have already happened.
Okay.
And now it is only issue of scaling up.
Okay. So Vaidya, you've been very passionate about this. You've talked about how banks, they give the bottom of the pyramid population not such good treatment. I mean, you've even questioned that, no bank will give a restaurant, if a small restaurant owner wants to paint the restaurant, he can never get a loan. And, so, the whole Rajni story that, can we get intraday credit for a vegetable vendor? You've been really passionate about this. What do you think? I mean, why aren't we moving ahead at the pace that we should be?
See, first of all, I was I like the segment so much that I actually bet my entire career on it, as you know.
Yeah.
I left my prior organization only to start up an NBFC, only to do this work end to end. And fortunately, it's been quite successful since we started 10 to 15 years ago. But the thing is that, the large corporates, as you can see, they are well rated. They get money at pretty good low rates. They can raise money through the cash accruals itself are very good, by the way. Then they get money through bonds. They can do ECB, and they have all the facilities, all the things supporting their way. But obviously, the small entrepreneurs, they are neither rated well, nor can they raise ECB, nor they can do bonds, nor the cash accrual are great. So obviously, their day-to-day life is hard and tough. Sometimes, not just entrepreneurs, you think of farmers, you think of urban laborers, migrant laborers, the problem is the same for everybody. In fact, I've traveled to many rural locations, and even to call this segment an opportunity is a pretty tragic word, actually, to use that sentence, because it's like a patient calling, doctor calling patients as an opportunity. So that is what it is. And but I think the news is the stack which Mr. Karan just now talked about. Having the new ecosystem that is coming about in terms of the telecom system, this, that, OCN, ONDC, account aggregator, e-mandate, e-agreement, the new technology, AI, ML, etc. All these, which we'll talk about later. So all this ecosystems coming along has dramatically changed the game. It's changed the game, all right, but
For very few.
But very few. I mean, if you see the picture as a whole, what we painted, let me just say it's like maybe 5% of the job done and 95% undone.
So how do we fix the cost structure? So if you want to give an intraday loan to a vegetable vendor, you can't give it to her at 40%, 50%. You need to bring that rate down, otherwise,
Only
at
through
the same time, it's unsecured.
Only through UPI, and now, of course, the ULI will work. But by the way, let me tell you, ULI, to Mr. Kara's comment, is basically, it is a stack of APIs.
Correct.
Right? If you think of a cooperative bank, unlike large institutions like ours, they are not find the ability to connect into this system and that ecosystem and, Jan Dhan and Aadhaar and NSDL and Aadhaar and PAN, and they have not done all the connections. The ULI is connecting everybody and giving us a ready-made stack to everybody to consume. So to that extent, it does open up that ecosystem, not just to the larger players like us, which already invested and made this technology, and made it available for everybody with the intelligence layer. So that the way I'm seeing it, I feel that the Indian banking system incrementally, we agreed that it's not a great job yet, it's still very small, covered, but incrementally I think I'm beginning to see it's happening, and particularly with the cost of interaction, it's coming down dramatically with the UPI. And the ULI will come in due course, but with the UPI, etc., transaction costs have definitely come down.
So you think, how far away is this intraday credit?
Well, intraday credit is a very specific use case for, let me say, the flower makers and people.
Vendors.
But I think we should, and vendors, etc. But I think we should expand the story much more beyond that. When you look at the, this particular one, you heard stories about people borrow in the morning, pay back in the evening kind of stuff. I'm really not only focusing on that. I'm just talking of the whole segment is one. But the reasons we talked about earlier, I'll give you one example to give you an idea how big this, in a crude way, let me use the word opportunity. I told you it's not a good word. But let me just say it. When we started this in 2010, in my previous organization, actually, which merged with IDFC, we called it Capital First. The loan book was 100 crores in 2010. Okay, 100 crores. Today, 14 years, first on the NBFC platform, now on a bank platform, it has become 1,60,000 crores. Which means, right, in this country, while every other bank was operating and all the big bosses of the system were operating, we found a new business right in this space. In 14 years, 1,60,000 crores of net book disbursal back 5 lakh crores. So I'm just saying that I am living this opportunity. It is a real one.
So Sharad, you have sometimes spoken of this innovation deficit. You've even sort of cautioned us that we're depending way too much on the fintechs and startups to sort of lead the way. I mean, it is true that they did, disrupt the system. So what do you feel? Is there enough innovation, invention otherwise, or are we still too dependent on startups?
No, first let me answer the question when are we going to get to Rajni? And I'll share our way of thinking about it. Is that to get to Rajni, which is a short tenor loan, intraday you mentioned, and a small ticket loan.
Yeah.
Right? When you are short tenor and small ticket, your interest income on that loan is very low. So if the interest income is low, then you got to make money on it. Otherwise, why would anybody? Because this is a commercial business, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, so the question is, we've come to a point where if you take all the costs, which are the cost of acquisition, cost of processing a loan, dispersing a loan, collecting a loan, collecting is very, very important,
Agents.
and regulatory compliance. If you take these 5 costs, we've come to a point recently where a 1 lakh rupee loan for 1 quarter has become profitable. Right? Now, Rajni doesn't want a 1 lakh rupee loan. So we have some distance to go. We have to go from 1 quarter to 1 month profitability, which means the costs have to fall by a third. And if you have to get to 1 week, then they have to fall by 1/4. So we have the costs for these to come down. Where are the barriers? The barriers are no longer in processing the loan. That costs have come down quite substantially, is in collecting the loan and in regulatory compliance. So we need the regulator to move to real-time compliance because the regulatory compliance will come down. For collections, we need to get to cash flow trapping, e-liens, and we have very weak systems for being able to do e-NASH and e-mandates. Those systems have to be strengthened. But I think what we are going to see in the next 1 or 2 years is an explosion of 1 lakh rupee loans for a quarter. Now, is there a big market waiting for it? Looking at the GST data, the answer to that is yes. There's a very large market waiting for it. So that is what we will see. There's still an underserved market for lower tenor and smaller ticket. That still has to wait for other things to come in place for that to happen. And I am confident because they have been on the roadmap that will happen as we go forward. So now coming to the innovation question, innovation is essentially always combinatorial innovation. Vaidya and I have been speaking about this even publicly. For that combinatorial innovation to happen, you need the building blocks. So you can take those Lego pieces and join them in clever ways. You know, many of the people here have an iPhone. iPhone was an example of combinatorial innovation, very clever combinatorial innovation. So the building blocks, I think, that are now available, I think many people are using them effectively. But they haven't reached a point where we can get to Rajini. So it will be wrong to say everything is in place to get to Rajini. What is in place is to get to 1 lakh rupees for a quarter. And that market will explode. So as we are putting new building blocks in place, I think new markets open up and they're quickly being serviced by players, you know, who are all sitting on the dais. NBFC, former NBFC, the largest bank in the country. I think everybody is innovating in a very meaningful way at this point in time.
You really think so? Because actually
Yes.
it's the fintechs who have innovated and the banks have actually piggybacked on them.
You know, I have to say, you know, first of all, I think amongst the big banks, clearly for me, public sector banks, SBI stands out. You know, I think it is just the succession of people that we have had, you know, has been extraordinary. You know that it's a wonderful set of transitions that have taken place. There's been continuity. SBI refuses to give up on any new segment that opens up. It manages to get its fair share and more than fair share in anything. You've seen this in the past, and they are early movers in MSME financing. So and OPL, as Mr. Khara mentioned, you know, he was one of the founders of that company in a fashion. So I think everybody is innovating. We just need to accelerate the building blocks, and we need to accelerate some regulatory changes. They have fallen behind, and especially for MSME lending. And you know, this is not the forum to talk about those in detail, but there are 14 changes that are pending with RBI. And if RBI is listening, I hope they resolve them tomorrow. And because if they resolve those 14 issues, I think this will explode. I think the choke point today is RBI more than anybody else.
I was leaving that for the last, but anyway, Rajiv. So, you know, this is a study by India Ratings which came the other day, and it shows how fintech lending is really slowing. It has slowed very sharply. Say, if you look at Q4 FY24 data, and even in, you know, this June quarter data, they're really slowing. Now, the reasons that India Ratings has put it is much higher cost of resources. I mean, it all follows from RBI tightening the screws, you know, making it harder for banks and NBFCs to team up. In fact, I shouldn't say this, but RBI is relooking the entire co-lending structure. This, I have it, I know. And another reason they feel is that the interest rates are very, very high. Now, I'm sure, you know, as an NBFC, most NBFCs have partnered with fintechs because they are able to reach out to customers which otherwise banks and NBFCs are not able to. You know, what do you feel? You know, because they were innovating, they were leading the way, there's no doubt about that. So, you know, how do you feel about this slowdown, and what do you think needs to be done? Because it would be a pity.
So actually, according to me, lending, you know, banking or non-banking is not about giving out money, but it is about being able to collect money.
The money.
That is
Absolutely.
where, if the faster we, you know, realize this, the better we will be. As far as fintechs are concerned, we all know RBI did not like the fact that unsecured credit was growing at this pace, and I completely agree with what they did. And the signs, or you know, the impact of that is visible today from the last 2 quarters. Fintechs, there are different types of models in fintechs.
True.
There are fintechs who are creating assets on their books. There are fintechs who are working with banks or NBFCs. And then there is the co-lending model where they have skin in the game.
Absolutely.
So there are various models which are prevailing in the market. When risk weightage got increased, obviously this asset class came into certain challenges. The other thing was risk weightage on lending to NBFCs also increased for banks. So to that extent, some of the NBFCs found it a little more difficult to access more monies, and that led to a slowdown. According to me, this is good in a way because this will build in responsible lending. We've not faced a problem because of the fact that we somehow have always believed organic business is the right business. I would say 99.8 or 99.9% of our business which we do is organic. It's sourced by us, credit evaluated by us, and collected by us. So there are different models which work. I think what is and I'm not saying the model where a fintech originates and an NBFC or a bank keeps that on its book is a wrong model. That also may work very well. It depends on the choice of the two entities who work together. But clearly, the challenge which the market is facing to an extent is over leveraging of certain borrowers. And because of that over leveraging of borrowers, there is a challenge to repay loans in certain segments. And that is where I think all banks and NBFCs have become more conservative. They've tightened their policies, and to that extent, we are seeing some moderation in unsecured loans, which is clearly visible.
No, so do you see the way forward, in co-lending, the only model that will survive now is where the fintech is originating the loan for you, for a bank or an NBFC, because if they don't have resources and they don't have capital, they cannot hold the asset on their book. So, do you think that then the fintech has a raison d'etre? Because many of them, the NBFC fintechs, that's why they've got the NBFC license, a Paytm, or what do they want to do? They also want to become lenders.
See, why a bank model or some of the NBFCs, why does that model work? Because there is a distribution of asset classes. There is a fair percentage of secured assets. If you look at, even you look at SBI or you look at IDFC or you look at an HDFC or an ICICI, you would find maybe 75-80% of the assets are secured assets. And the balance are unsecured assets. In a fintech, the way the model was working is all of those assets were unsecured assets. And we know while there is more money to be made, but there is higher risks which are there. And that is a challenge which they will need to address so that how they can balance out these asset classes across their books. I think a good model always is where maybe fintechs can originate and the assets lie with banks or NBFCs, but there is skin in the game for the fintechs, which is the co-lending model, maybe 20-80 or 30-70, but there is skin in the game. Unless there is skin in the game, that challenge is going to only increase.
Yeah, why the comment? Yeah.
See, the thing is that you should be very careful with this, the way the discussion is going. It's not that someone has access and someone has the balance sheet, oh my God, how to make the match, okay? We should be very careful with this because end of the day, if you're only going to originate and pass it on someone else's balance sheet on books, think about collections.
Absolutely.
Because remember, one of the biggest strengths we have in the system today is the banking system. NPA is so low.
True.
In fact, if you notice, the corporate banking NPA has had a massive yo-yo. We all know what happened with that kind of lending that happened in 2010, 11, 12, etc., or maybe 13, 14, that paid the price between 14 to 18 or 19, 20. So one of the things, Shobna, is that you're keeping on the bank's books. Who will do collections? When you do partnership, this is one very important question to answer. Who will do collections? Because if you're going to say, you're going to do the origination, you're going to do the collections, I'm just going to park it to the balance sheet, then when some collection activity goes bad out there, or if someone is overly aggressive with the customer, who's responsible? So therefore, whenever we look at these partnerships, this is one question we always ask: who is responsible for collections? Who is responsible for portfolio quality? Because if you originate and park it elsewhere and don't carry the responsibility for the collection of that money, then this is an issue. And as lenders, we have to be very careful with that, because end of the day, we got to have our asset quality. Your gross NPA should not exceed 2%. Your net NPA should not exceed 1%. This is the truth. And anything beyond that, people start looking at you with a not so good eye.
No, see, the point is that if you then want massive financial inclusion, Mr. Khara, you want to get beyond 100 million families. That's the whole sort of idea behind being so digitized. But if it's all about risk and secured lending, then, it's going...
I will tell you, if you look at any lender, when we give out a loan, and let's say we give out a 36-month loan, we make money only if the 31st to 36th installments are paid. If 1st to 30th are paid, and one of those 31st to 36th is not paid, we don't make money. Okay. So the scope for error in lending is limited, because the margins, if the cost of funds is 8% or 7% and you lend at 10%, margins are limited. So your scope for error is less. So somewhere the need to balance out both the need for growth and the need for managing risk, both are extremely important.
I think what you mentioned about the financial inclusion aspect, there is a need for having more of financial literacy, wherein the responsible borrowing concept has to be brought in.
A responsible borrowing.
Responsible borrowing concept has to be brought in. What you mentioned about the street vendor loan, we did that. We called it a PM Swanidhi loans. And we have already seen that the first dose, when it was given, the kind of delinquencies which were there, we have also seen that when the collection mechanism was all digitized, it was all the POS machines, it was not POS machines, some kind of sound box were actually provided to them. When the money was getting collected into the accounts, so behavior was much better. So that has actually addressed the collection aspect of it. That has addressed the rightful use of the money. This is something which is nothing but a responsible behavior by design. So I think increasingly when we are talking about the financial inclusion, this is the kind of a model which has to be put in place. What is being talked about in terms of co-lending, etc., this is a fact of the matter that, as it is normally said, that the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches. So rightfully so, the capital which is put to stake when the lending happens, that is an entity which actually understands, if at all the accounts are not conducted well, how will it really impact. So I think this is a reality. So in the event of co-lending, at times, so it so happens that the risk is not seen by the lender.
Okay.
So that is something which has to be averted.
Okay.
There is a need that there should be adequate appreciation on the part of the lender about the risk, and that is why we have seen that wherever collection happens by the entity themselves, they are not dependent upon DSA for outsourcing of the asset, and also for the collection, the entities are much better off. So this is the reality which we have experienced.
If I
Sharad
can
want,
add,
he just
So
want-
Shobna, I think when history is written, we will remember these last few years as having made a blunder. See, the whole idea of the big shift that is happening is from collateral-based lending, which I think is a system that works eminently fine, to information-based lending. The purpose of information-based lending was for business loans, because short tenor loans repeated are still useful for the business. So a 3-month loan given to a chair manufacturer selling chairs on GEM is very useful, because can buy raw materials, assemble a chair, sell a chair. giving a 3-month loan to a Uber driver to buy a washing machine is useless. Actually, what happened was that our startup industry, funded by US VCs, took a concept of digital lending and applied this to retail lending and created an excess that has now got to be recovered for MSME lending.
Yes.
So, and we ended up creating regulations to manage it, and those regulations are bleeding off because they're preventing MSME lending from happening. So we created a problem for ourselves with excessive enthusiasm for cash flow lending for retail. And we are paying a price for this, and we have to recover from this as we go forward. Now, is the recovery likely? It is possible. Because if we don't fund the MSME lending, we won't create jobs. We know there are 8 million GST paying businesses that are not eligible for even a 1-year working capital loan.
True.
So they can only get a short tenure working capital loan. If you are able to give them and rotate it, we at least create 8 million jobs. So I think the national imperative is MSME.
Yeah.
We got, sidelined with something, and we are paying the price of that excess.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, we can recover
Correct.
from that quickly and move forward.
Yeah, Rajiv,
I just wanted to say this, that we are probably making a mountain out of the mole. What has happened is, when we look at numbers, before COVID, let's say the delinquency levels were this. What happened post-COVID was that there were a lot of, obviously there was more liquidity. Individuals had saved a lot of money. They had more surpluses because they were spending lesser. A lot of people, we realized post-COVID, prepaid their loans because they had surpluses. So if delinquency was at this level, post-COVID, we saw delinquencies come down to this level.
yes.
Now what is happening, things are normalizing a little bit, and we see delinquencies at this level, which are still lower than pre-COVID, but we seem to be worried about it. I just wanted to bring this context also. While this year is higher than previous year, but it is distinctly lower than pre-COVID. So I don't think so we should panic. However, if there are corrections to be done, we should do them.
I would add to
Yeah.
that actually. See, to Sharad's point. Guys, listen, to Rajiv's point, things are normalizing. No problem as such. Let's not make some, there's a big deal happening on here. You can see people's credit costs are quite normal, it's like almost like pre-COVID, maybe a little less than that. Let me tell you that if you step this conversation away from here, Shobna, let me tell you that first, let me say, Shobna, earlier people were paying income tax based lending, which is like maybe 1990s. Then people came to cash flow based lending,
Yeah.
which is going on even today, and which is the only solution to reach to the Rajnis of the world, and so on. But now, because of what the ecosystem has come about, because the role of the government of India, RBI, private sector, everybody's put up a massive ecosystem. Last 7-8 years it's come about, not before that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, in addition to the income tax return, which is by now just one piece of information, and cash flow, now device data is there. Number two, IP address data is there. Let me tell you, demographic data is there. Let me tell you, tax information is there, GST, income tax, etc. Then you got utility data is there, credit data is there, fraud data is there. So all of this information have become much more real time, much more updated, and available in the lending process. My sense is that, again, identity data. Earlier, identity was, give me a copy of your license, etc. People could take a photocopy, fudge it. Now it's, checked with this database, checked with UIDI, checked with PAN, validation, etc. So therefore, that's also become, so identity has become better, data has become better, everything. So therefore, my point is that the overall guardrails are important. And if we have to reach financial inclusion the way we are talking about, to the Rajani level, to the bottom of the pyramid, and, intraday, etc., then the only solution is information lending, what Sharad was talking about. And I believe the country is moving there. If we forever keep depending on third party to originate loans and loan on our books, we will not do it. Institutions have to create this capability themselves, and I believe that we are building it.
Just to add, if we want to really make a difference, I feel a couple of things which are easy kills, which we can do, which will help this whole journey. One is this whole concept of eKYC.
Yeah,
I feel eKYC should be allowed for all, not only
Yeah,
for banks,
yeah.
NBFCs, MFIs. It's a basic infrastructure. Why do you want to differentiate on something which is good, which is basic infrastructure? Second is, I think when payments can be real time, why can't credit bureau information be real time?
Absolutely.
If you make it real time, there will be a
Absolutely.
humongous change in the quality of credit we will see.
Just want to say that, and it's a very important point, and you know we've been speaking about it in public forums now also, saying that just for information, for benefit of the audience, today companies are reporting on a monthly basis. So if a customer has taken a loan from one entity and in the interim has taken a loan from elsewhere, that's an but that, you know, that can extra leverage. But that if a daily basis, if you have full visibility, then intraday, for example, if a customer has taken a loan on first of a month, first of the next month customer is supposed to pay. If the customer pays on 18th also, end of the day records, it shows customer's current. But in daily reporting, you can show the customers 18 days overdue. So this is a capability. I believe that when things are moving, actually RBI has already asked people now move to the 15-day basis. But the 15-day basis moves eventually for all products, all players every day. And I believe technology is supporting it today. Then there is this leverage can also be further supported.
To add to what he is saying, it's banks reporting in 15 days. But if the bureau takes another 15 days, then it's 30 days. So today it is 2 months.
But that's solvable, Raji. That's solvable.
It is solvable. But
You know,
we need to.
I was on the
Yeah, you
PCR
have the
committee.
last word.
I was on the PCR committee that gave its report 4 years ago. Have not been implemented. I think we need a dose of regulatory reform here.
Yeah.
And you know, my friends here work with the regulator every day, so they are hesitant to call out the regulator.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem. And I think we are held up largely because of the regulatory reforms. We need a dose of regulatory reforms, and this will ignite the market.
Yeah.
I will also say one more thing. See, the US model doesn't have NBFCs. So you have banks and fintechs. You know, our model was all lending should be regulated, either in a bank or in a NBFCs. The role of fintechs was to be the tech providers. In fact, most of the tech providers for UPI are startups. Most of the tech providers, including OPL that you mentioned, are startups. Our role of startups has to be to be the tech providers to the lenders so that they can do things that they would not have been able to do. We created a problem in our hands by expecting fintechs to be lenders and shadow lenders, you know, without actually being allowed to be lenders, and that is the backlash that we are facing, and that's slowing down regulatory reform, because regulators say, hey, you know, this market is broken, we got to be extra careful before we make any changes as we go forward.
I think Sharad is making a big deal. So it's not that nobody's. It's actually between the regulator and the ecosystem, things have actually improved quite a hell of a lot. I think Sharad is on a rampage today, and someone has to calm the guy down. Okay, but actually, you know, the whole thing of what this whole ecosystem has come about, it couldn't have happened without a regulator support. Honestly, I think.
Moreover, they have got a responsibility.
True.
They have got a responsibility.
Yeah.
People should not forget there's an Asian financial crisis, there's a global financial crisis, there was a Russian crisis, Argentinian crisis. I think we should forget all that, Sharad.
Sure.
I think you're only a fintech player, Sharad. Tum banker bhi ban jao. Think of the ecosystem, man.
The odd person out.
I know, but you will privately thank me for raising this.
I think unfortunately we are running out of time. Sharad, Raji, Mr. Karavadya, thank you so much. That was really interesting. Thank you. Yeah. So third.
Well done.
Thank you very much to all of our experts for such an insightful chat. I'd like to request you all to please take your seats, as I request Mr. Shamal Majumdar, the editor, Financial Express, to please come up on stage for the welcome address.
Honorable Minister for Information Technology, INB and Railways, Shri Ashwini Vaishnaw, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you to the 7th edition of the FE CFO Awards function to honor the best and the brightest Chief Financial Officers. FE CFO Awards is our way of celebrating corporate excellence. Congratulations once again to all the award winners in different categories. They can indeed feel proud of themselves as they were chosen by a distinguished jury led by K.K. Mistry, former Vice Chairman of HDFC. The candidates were assessed not merely on financials, but also on corporate governance and other parameters. Watching the jury in action was a hugely educative experience for all of us at FE, and the rigor that they put in was just fantastic. The award winners today are an example of fighting the odds and leading in a world where uncertainty seems to be the only constant. We are indeed grateful to our chief guest of this evening, Shri Ashwini Vaishnaw, for being part of today's function, despite his hectic schedule, and give away the awards to the winners today. Vaishnaw ji, as you all know, is one of the scriptwriters of India's growth story, as he holds 3 significant portfolios: information technology, information and broadcasting, and railways. Mr. Vaishnaw has several firsts to his credit. Most important, he piloted a personal data protection bill, which was simpler than the draft version, and also shown of legal complexities. The final iteration found much greater acceptance from foreign governments, big tech, and other stakeholders. Under his stewardship, the 76,000 crore domestic semiconductor manufacturing scheme has been scaled up, and the Semiconductor 2.0 is going to come up also very soon. Mr. Vaishnaw has also been responsible for a fresh Telecom Act, which not only frames a law that is in sync with the times, but has also for the first time clearly demarcated the areas where spectrum needs to be auctioned and where it can be allocated administratively. The minister has done some magnificent job in the railways too. For proof, take a ride on one of the Vande Bharat trains. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for the highlight of this evening, our fireside chat with the minister. I request Shri Vaishnaw to join on the stage. So I'd also request Rishi. He's already come, but he has waited for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a fireside chat with the minister. Thank you.
Working, check, 1, 2, 3. So, thank you, Vaishnaw ji, for coming for this occasion. And as my editor, Mr. Majumdar, very aptly described your role, that has saved a little bit of time at my end, so that I can come directly to the point. But as he introduced your several firsts, so and the panel discussion which preceded this, which was tech in credit. So it's actually the technology thing which is driving even the financial world today, the banking world today, which is very apparent. And you are a man of technology. And as a man of technology, meaning you were earlier looking after telecom also, you continue to look after information technology and electronics, where large scale reforms and changes have happened. And an added portfolio has come as information and broadcasting. And railways is also all about technology today. You have injected a great dose of technology over there. So it's about, you are building tracks, you are bringing platforms, you are connecting people. That's the role which you are performing greatly. So what are the next steps? Like India's growth story, if we look at it, how are these bits going to add up to the larger story?
Thank you, Rishi. And friends, thank you very much for inviting me to this conference, to the FE CFO Awards. Probably I'm the only one without a suit today. So, yes, thank you. And where's my friend Sharad? He's always in jeans. So, that's good. At least some of us are odd persons out in this room. Good. Rishi, see, I would like to start with the point that you made. How does India's growth story stack up, and what's the thought process behind where we are today, government's policies, and how it's going to impact our economy going forward? Our growth story is a very well thought through growth story. If you recall, when the COVID struck the world, there were two different views. One view was a predominant view, helicopter money view, right? Even the Nobel laureates used to say that just print and start distributing. That was the view which practically everybody took. And that was the view that we were also getting as government. That was the advice we were also getting. Print, send it for consumption, and things will all fall in place. Our country took a very different stand, because even though printing money and giving it out for consumption can give you that sugar high, it cannot build the economy, it cannot rebuild the economy the way it's supposed to be. That's why we took the path of investment-led growth to come out of COVID. I'll share the numbers. FY20, 3.4 lakh crores capex program for the government. FY21, 4.5 lakh crore. FY22, 5.5 lakh crore. FY23, 7.5 lakh crore. FY24, 10 lakh crore. FY25, which we are currently in, it's 11.1 lakh crore capex. Now that has been the journey, and that required a lot of work on the part of government planners, execution, on the part of the industry, on the part of the suppliers, the entire value chain, the entire supply chain of construction industry, construction machinery, materials, all kind of industries got a very important multiplier impact. And if we talk in the terms of financial world, when we put in 100 rupees in the investment programs, our economy today, it's structured in a way that we get 360 rupees, 3.6 is the multiplier. So we get 360 rupees economic activity in the economy. And close to 60% of that is for the MSME sector. I've done some very detailed modeling of our economy, and when you put that 100 rupees, it takes about 32 cycles by the time it becomes 1 rupee, right? It takes that kind of thing. And even though infrastructure-led growth or investment-led growth can take 2.5, 3 years to give the final results, but the results are very sustainable results. And that is one of the big reasons why we have been one of the fastest growing major economy in the last few years, while the world was trying to struggle to come out of the COVID period. And despite the fact that the rich world printed about $9 trillion, if you add up what was done by the Fed and the ECB and the Japanese, combine the three, it was roughly about $9 trillion US, which was printed and put in the system. Despite that, there was a serious discussion about whether the rich countries are able to come out or not. And as a side effect, they had high inflation. Whereas in our case, we had a high growth, moderate inflation. So that's the path I can say today, because of this very well thought through economic policy making of the government and very clear vision of our Prime Minister, we can clearly see 6 to 8% growth in the coming at least 4 years to 5 years, with a moderate inflation of 4 to 6%. So nominal, we can say it will be around 10 to 13%, 10 to 14% nominal. So all the CFOs, now you know what target you have to give to your people.
That was very nicely put, sir. So this whole thing, what you're talking about, the CAPEX, the growth story, and the increase in CAPEX, this all requires a smooth run, that the wheels on the track run very smoothly. Not that you have been ensuring in the railways, but like from the larger economy, it's also the legal processes, the legal complications which sometimes, clog the wheels. Say for instance, if we look at the data protection bill, it started much before you took charge of the ministry. And the first draft, which was finalized by the legal experts, etc., was seen as a very complicated, very paradise for lawyers, if I can use that term. And it wasn't accepted by any sections, whether it is domestic or global. You took charge, you just simplified it. And the one which has been passed, the rules are still to be formulated, that's a different thing, has been accepted very well by every section within the country, overseas. So that's like one. Telecom was a litigious sector. I think it was a sector which lawyers made fortunes because everything was in court. You drafted a new Telecom Act, and all these disputes are a history now. It's a thing of the past. So now, where is the next area where you think, whether it is railways or whether in the whether land acquisition laws, we have been lucky that all the semiconductor projects which you approved have got land and they will come on stream as targeted. But which are the other areas where you think that the legal processes need to be simplified?
That's actually a very important point. And if you look at the history of our first and second term of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's first and second terms, we have taken about 1,500 laws out of the statute book and taken about 40,000 compliances out of the entire system. Lot more work is in progress, lot more compliances, lot more simplification has to be done. If you look at let me put it in the context of the growth story. The first pillar of our growth story is investment, which I talked about. I talked about the physical investment, but there is investment in social as well as digital infrastructure. The second pillar is simplification. And this simplification that you talked about has been a major effort, and it requires tremendous amount of work to be able to take out so many of the cobwebs of past out of the statute book. And there is lot more to go, lot more to be done. In terms of the digital economy that you pointed out, we are creating a framework of digital regulation which on the one hand promotes innovation, on the other hand it prevents harms to our citizens. Because by now I've met more than 25 plus counterparts all over the world, and every single minister dealing with communications and digital economy has expressed that the society is at threat, democracy is at threat, the institutions which have been built over centuries are getting negatively impacted by the social media, deep fakes, AI generated data which is absolutely out of sync with the reality. So lot more needs to be done on that front. So the way we are thinking is there will be some horizontal laws. So for example, the data protection law that you mentioned, this is a horizontal law, it affects every sector. Whether it is financial sector, medical, healthcare, every sector it affects. There will be some vertical laws. So vertical regulations will be looking at sector specific regulation. So for example, the payment systems, RBI has a different set of regulation. Healthcare sector might come up with something else. But the building blocks will be very neatly structured. So that's the way we are thinking. And we are also consulting very extensively with the industry. The two laws that you mentioned, In case of telecom, the consultation process ran for 2 full years and practically 35,000 consultations were done. 35,000. In case of data protection, the consultation had started way back 5-6 years back. There was a joint parliamentary committee also which consulted a lot of quite a few stakeholders. And when we withdrew the old bill and start working on the new draft, after that also we had 16,000 consultations. So it's a very extensive consultation process we are following, and the same process, same thinking we will continue to follow for the next set of regulations. But trust me, it's going to be simple.
That's nice to hear. There's as you spoke about the extensive consultative process which you engage in before coming out with any kind of a legislation or so. It just strikes me that wherever you have entered, something has been there which you have withdrawn, and then you have brought something afresh. Say data protection bill was there, that you recall it, you came out with a fresh one. Telecom also you came with a fresh act. There were efforts on this thing. If I remember, semiconductor also, the some subsidy model had come, which was not a uniform thing, but later you renewed it, you reviewed it, and you made it across all nodes 50% subsidy. So you generally take it back, look at it fresh, very clinical approach, and then you come out with a thing which generally gets accepted by the industry. So carriage you have dealt with in telecom. Platforms you have dealt with in electronics and IT, you continue to do, but largely the IT roles.
Here comes the controversial question.
It's the content which now you have come in.
Content is the most controversial.
And something was withdrawn also, a draft broadcasting bill, which was again controversial. So in content now which we see.
Let me take it head on. See, as I said, the democracy and the societies everywhere in the world are grappling with this question now. There are multiple approaches. One of the approach which has been followed primarily in Europe is the approach of shutting down things. The other approach, which is primarily in US, let everything move on. At some point of time, some equilibrium will come. There are other smarter approaches where a good balance between innovation and tight regulation is there. I think we in India can actually set the path for very smart regulation, because the kind of brain power we have, the kind of IQ we have in this hall and outside this hall, the kind of thinking ability that we have in our country, and the scale that we have on innovation, on startups, on tech, I think we are the ones who can really carve out a niche for bringing out that right kind of regulation. We'll be working in that approach. Content might require a multiple set of regulations. Some might be in the form of self-regulation. Some activities might be in the form of more like nudging the industry, and certain things which should be unacceptable for the society. For example, somebody makes a deepfake video of Mr. Khara, my good friend, and Mr. Khara then in that deepfake video says that, okay, take loan from a particular person, right? That's wrong. That should not be accepted by the society. That should not be allowed in a civilized society. So that kind of approach we will have to follow. It will be a nuanced approach which starts from self-regulation for for large number of activities, a reasonable level of regulation for some activities, and for a very few select, it has to be a big hammer which has to be put.
As you talked about deep fake, so it reminds me, like, yes, as we move, especially in banking and the finance world, this thing with technology and tech in credit, obviously the cyber security issue also comes up as a big this thing, because meaning it's something which one has to be prepared for, because as you open the windows, apart from fresh air, flies also do come in, but we have to take measures to see that flies are contained. So
cyber security is definitely a very important concern for all of us sitting in this room, right? all of you keep grappling with this topic day in and day out. The good thing I would like to share with you is that yesterday only the World Cyber Security Index came out. And India has been ranked among the tier 1 countries. So it's a big honor for all of us. And this is something all of us have collectively achieved. The entire industry, the IT industry, the tech world, the various sectors like the power sector, like the transportation sector, like the telecom infrastructure, all the critical infrastructure, the critical services, and overall work that the country has done. Today we are ranked as a tier 1 country, which there is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 and tier 5. So tier 1 is what they call somebody to be emulated, somebody to be followed. So that's the way they put in. But this is cybersecurity is a topic on which I would like to say that it is like a constant race between the guys who would like to cause harm versus the guys who are preventing that harm. So we have to continuously be on the job day in and day out to be able to do certain things that we are working on. One of the frameworks that we are working on is, can we have a UPI-like structure for cybersecurity? Because we have a large number of MSMEs in the country who would not be able to hire the resources or get the resources which are available to large corporates. So can we have a UPI-like structure for cybersecurity so that even the smallest, the person who is just doing business using either one laptop or one PC or practically on the mobile phone now should be able to feel secure being in the cyber world. That is one. Second is, can we have very strong punishment for the cyber crimes, and we are working on that. Third, what are the technology solutions which are really cutting edge? And fourth, large number of coordination activities have to happen between various stakeholders in the cyber security field. So how do we have a very smooth coordination? So these are the items on which we are working at this point of time, and the results have been good so far, but we need to continuously keep working on it.
So you mean you will be coming out with a kind of a holistic regulation which
I think it is more of a technology piece, less of a regulation piece, because the punishments are in a sense already defined in the IT Act of 2000. We will need to enhance some of the punishments, but it's more of technology and more of making sure that there are resources, the human resources are capable of continuously stepping up to the challenges that we face.
So coming back to your another very important thing which you rolled, that is railways. I mean, of course, with your coming in this government, this thing of Vande Bharat trains which started, which was coming after a long time, because
when the slip comes, you have to end.
Because we had, after Rajdhanis and Shatabdis, there was nothing much innovative which had come. So these trains have been very well received, and you have talked about that, these are the ones which, meaning we can show the way to the world with these trains. The noise levels you have told that you have demonstrated that it's much, much less than any other trains globally also. But going forward now, people are waiting to see when do sleeper trains come over here.
So Vande Bharat is a very satisfying experience. It's a development done by our own engineers, development done in our country, which matches world-class trains across the world. But I would like to take maybe 3 or 4 minutes before we end and kind of share with you what our thinking process in railways is. If you compare railway with highway or road transportation with rail transportation, road transportation carbon dioxide emissions are about 101, or let's say 100 grams of CO2 per ton carrying it for a kilometer. Compared to that, the carbon dioxide emissions in railways is just about 11 grams of CO2 per ton kilometer. So it's a 95% less carbon dioxide emissions. So 95% less polluting. In terms of cost, railways is practically 1/3 or about 40% of the cost of transportation by road. Now, every CFO in the world would like to have something which is less costly, something which is less polluting. Who would not like? Is there anybody who wouldn't like something which is less costly in this room, right? So, we as a country, we as an economy have to make sure that there is enough railway capacity in our country so that every good, every cargo which can be transported by rail should be transported by rail. Unfortunately, for the first 60 years of our independence, railway never got the investments that it needed. Things changed in 2014 from a capital support of about 32,000 crore for such a large railway network. Today we have 2,52,000 crore rupees capital support from the government budget. So that kind of capex really is needed in railways to be able to come up to the economy's expectations. And the results are clearly visible in front of us. In first 60 years of railways journey since independence, the country electrified about 20,000 kilometers. 20,000 kilometers of railways were electrified. In the last 10 years, 40,000 kilometers have been electrified. Now, put that in the context. One of the largest railway networks is the German railway network. It is 35,000 kilometers. So 40,000 kilometers is more than the network of Germany that we have electrified in the last 10 years. New railway tracks. 2014, it was just about 4 kilometers a day. And today it is 14.5 kilometers a day. So, last 2 years, we have added 5,200 kilometers and 5,300 kilometers of new railway tracks in just these previous 2 years, because momentum got built. There was a bit of break in the COVID period, but then we continued the momentum, and today we are doing 5,000 kilometers a year. Now again, to give you the context, the whole railway network of Switzerland is 5,000 kilometers. So we are adding a Switzerland in terms of railway network every year. And that's very essential. The results, if you look at it, now we are carrying 700 crore people every year. 700 crore people every year. Last year we carried 700 crore. Just short of it, 697 to be precise. And now we are carrying 1,600 million tons of cargo. Because of the increased activity of constructing railway lines and manufacturing more locomotives and wagons, we have added 360 million tons of cargo. Now, to understand what it means, if we add cargo, we are basically shifting it from the road. That means we are preventing CO2 emissions, right? So if you translate this 360 million tons into how much carbon dioxide is saved, if we would have planted trees to absorb that much carbon dioxide, it would mean that this adding of 360 million ton cargo is equivalent to planting 72 crore trees. So it's humongous. It's so beneficial for our environment. It's so good for our economy that we must keep doing more of it. We must keep adding more railway tracks. Today we are world's largest locomotive manufacturer. Last year we manufactured 1,200 locomotives. If you add many geographies, the whole of Europe and many large geographies, it would be more than that. We are manufacturing now 30,000 wagons every year. If you again add many geographies, it would be more than that. And our very sharp focus on safety has given us results. In 10 years ago, it was about 171 accidents a year. That is now reduced to 40 accidents a year, and the efforts are very serious to further bring more technological solutions, to train our people better, to have better processes that we can even go down further on this. In terms of the index, which is how many incidents occur every million kilometers of passenger travel, if you take that index, today our index is a very respectable number if you compare many other geographies, including the United States and Canada and South Africa and many other European countries. So in a sense, there is a very complete, very holistic view of where in our economy railways is placed, right? How it's going to be a multiplier for the economy, and how do we make sure that it comes up to the people's expectations. On many, continuously we are working very hard on this, and our Prime Minister's focus on railways is so real. Today we are rebuilding, not just painting or just refurbishing, rebuilding, reconstructing 1,164 stations as we speak, and the total number that we have taken up is 1,339. That is world's largest station redevelopment program. All this is going on in parallel, and that's the way our Prime Minister wants all of us to work. So we are lucky that we got this kind of leadership, and I thank you all for giving the historic third term mandate, because after 60 years a leader has been re-elected third time. So thank you all of you for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to add one thing before we conclude, is that when I began, I said Mr. Vaishnaw is a man of technology. In conclusion, I would like to add, he's a man of technology as well as a man of finance, because the way he has explained everything in numbers makes him more qualitative as well as quantitative.
I'm a student of finance and technology.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for such an insightful chat. Request you to please take your seats. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the much-awaited Financial Express CFO Awards 2024. Like every year, the awards nominations witnessed thorough scrutiny by our Financial Express editorial team and our knowledge partner, Deloitte India, to ensure that only the finest and the most innovative companies were placed in front of our most eminent jury. Let's meet the revered and distinguished jury members for the Financial Express CFO of the Year Awards 2024. Jury chaired by Mr. K.K. Mistry, former Vice Chairman and CEO, HDFC Limited. Ms. Ashu Suyash, former Managing Director and CEO, CRISIL. Ms. Vishakha Mulye, CEO, Aditya Birla Capital Limited. Mr. Amit Tandon, Founder and Managing Director, Institutional Investor Advisory Services, and Mr. Rajiv Gupta, Managing Director, Upward Capital. FE CFO awards are presented across small, medium, and large enterprises in both manufacturing and services segments. We also have two very special awards, the FE CFO of the Year and, of course, our Lifetime Achievement Award. I would like to invite our Honorable Chief Guest, Ashwini Vaishnaw, and George Varghese, our Group CEO, Indian Express Group, to kindly come on stage to give away the awards this evening. I would also like to invite Ms. Nandita Pai, Partner and CFO Program Leader, Deloitte India, onto the stage to join our Honorable Chief Guest and Mr. Varghese. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now begin with the very first category, Financial Express CFO Awards Small Enterprises. Now, this is for companies that have a gross turnover of rupees 500 to rupees 1500 crores across the manufacturing and services sector. In the small enterprise manufacturing sector, the winner for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 is India Pesticides Limited. Congratulations. I would like to request Mr. Satya Prakash Gupta, Chief Financial Officer, India Pesticides Limited, to kindly come up onto the stage to receive the award. Congratulations and thank you, Mr. Gupta. In the small enterprise manufacturing sector, our next winner for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 is Blue Jet Healthcare Limited. Let me request Mr. Ganesh Karupanan, the Chief Financial Officer, Blue Jet Healthcare Limited, to come up on stage to receive the award. Congratulations and thank you, Mr. Karup Anand, and thank you, Ms. Pai. I would like to invite Mr. Manoj Jindal, IAS, Joint Managing Director, Maharashtra State Road Development Corporation, to join us on stage with our Honorable Chief Guest and Mr. Varghese. In the small enterprise service sector, our next winner for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 is 361 WAM Limited. We have Mr. Sanjay Wadhwa, Chief Financial Officer, 361 WAM Limited, joining us on stage to collect the award. Many congratulations to Mr. Wadhwa. As we continue with the small enterprise service sector, the next winner for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 is Mindspace Business Parks REIT. Let me request Ms. Preeti Cheda, Chief Financial Officer, Mindspace Business Parks REIT, to please come up on stage with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, Ms. Cheda. And thank you, Mr. Jindal. I would like to invite Mr. Nikhil Naik, Managing Director, Naik Insurance Broking, to kindly join us on stage as we proceed with the awards. We're now talking about the medium enterprises category, which felicitates companies that have a gross turnover of rupees 1,500 to rupees 3,000 crores across the manufacturing and services sector. In the medium enterprise manufacturing sector, the award for Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 goes to Sona BLW Precision Forgings Limited. Congratulations, Mr. Rohit Nanda, the Group Chief Financial Officer, Sona BLW Precision Forgings Limited, is here joining us on stage, accepting the award. Congratulations, Mr. Nanda. The winner in the medium enterprise service sector for FE CFO Awards 2024 is 5-Star Business Finance Limited. Let me request Mr. Shrikant Gopalakrishnan, who is the Joint Managing Director and Chief Financial Officer, 5-Star Business Finance Limited, to join us on stage to receive the award. Congratulations and thank you to Mr. Gopalakrishnan. And thank you to Mr. Naik as well. The winner in the medium enterprise service sector for FE CFO Awards 2024 is KPIT Technologies Limited. Let me request Ms. Priya Hardikar, Chief Financial Officer, KPIT Technologies Limited, to join us on stage to receive the award. Congratulations, Ms. Hardikar. The next winner, ladies and gentlemen, in the medium enterprise service sector for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 is CMS Info Systems Limited. Let's have Mr. Pankaj Khandelwal, President and Chief Financial Officer, joining us on stage as we speak to collect the award. Many congratulations, Mr. Khandelwal. Ladies and gentlemen, the next set of awards for the evening pertains to the large enterprises category. Now, these are companies with a gross turnover of over rupees 3,000 crores. And these awards, yes, will be given to companies across the services and manufacturing sectors. I would now like to invite Mr. Shamal Majumdar back onto the stage to join our honorable chief guest and Mr. Varghese. Our first winner, ladies and gentlemen, in the large enterprise manufacturing sector for the FE CFO Awards 2024 is Asian Paints Limited. Congratulations. Let me request Mr. R.J. Jaya Murugan, the CFO and Company Secretary, Asian Paints Limited, to join us on stage and collect the award. Congratulations, Mr. Jaya Murugan. The next winner this evening in the large enterprise manufacturing sector for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 is Hindustan Unilever Limited. Let me request Mr. Ritesh Ramakrishna Tiwari, Executive Director, Finance and IT and CFO, Hindustan Unilever Limited, to join us on stage and receive the award. Many congratulations and thanks to Mr. Tiwari. Now, the next winner in the large enterprise service sector for FE CFO Awards 2024 is Kotak Mahindra Bank Limited. Let me request Mr. Jaimin Bhatt, ex-Group Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Manish Agrawal, Senior Executive Vice President and Head Bank Finance, Kotak Mahindra Bank, to please join us on stage to collect the award this evening. Many congratulations, Mr. Bhatt and Mr. Agrawal. The next award in the large enterprise service sector for Financial Express CFO Awards 2024 goes to Cholamandalam Investment and Finance Company Limited. Let me invite Mr. D. Arul Selvan, President and Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Ravindra Kumar Kundu, Executive Director, Cholamandalam Investment and Finance Company Limited. Many congratulations, Mr. Arul Selvan and Mr. Kundu. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to a very special segment of the awards ceremony, which recognizes the distinctive role that leaders in the industry have played in their individual capacity in the development of their organizations and the industry. Now, the first award in the individual capacity is the Financial Express CFO of the Year Award. Now, this particular award recognizes a leader who, with his innovative ideas, business business excellence and strategic leadership has propelled the company to heightened success. A visionary who, with his exemplary contribution to the field, has become an inspiration for many across industries. Ladies and gentlemen, the Financial Express CFO of the Year 2024 is none other than Mr. Srinivasan Vaidyanathan, Chief Financial Officer, HDFC Bank. Let me tell you that Srinivasan Vaidyanathan worked on what was a large and complicated exercise, the merger of HDFC with HDFC Bank. It was absolutely critical to get both the regulators' approval and to rein in regulatory and transition costs. Now, the path to compliance included building buffers that pushed up costs. Now, while some regulatory forbearance was forthcoming, replacing HDFC's borrowings with bonds of more than rupees 60,000 crore was a huge challenge with serious cost implications. And above all, it was important to manage the street's expectations, as many feared business at the behemoth could slow down. Now, Mr. Vaidyanathan's careful and astute handling of the merger ensured that there were no lapses and that the new entity was well in place, well within the scheduled time. For this enormous achievement, the FE CFO Awards jury adjudged Srinivasan Vaidyanathan as CFO of the Year. It's my absolute pleasure to request Mr. Srinivasan Vaidyanathan to please come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Firstly, at the outset, thank you, Honorable Minister. Grateful that you made the time, and indeed it was a great year. Next, I do want to thank the jury and for their confidence and for their evaluation. I do want to mention Financial Express FE has been something that has been very close to me. Right from childhood, our family was associated with the Express Group for more than 60 years. And that it's indeed an honor that it did occur that FE was something that chose to award me. Appreciate that. Next is, this would not have been possible by the team. The finance and the business leaders, HDFC Bank were here, were instrumental in executing and getting things done. And that's indeed commendable, and it's actually to them, their efforts and their drive that got things done during the year. So it's them. And of course, I can't miss the family. A lot of sacrifices, and that's what they did to ensure that I was able to dedicate my time to work. And lastly, I do have to thank our CEO, Shashi. Last 5 years I've been in the bank, and he is an epitome of how he cares and nurtures people and develops them to leaders. So that's something, and not only for certain select people, now he's doing that for 215,000 people. And that's part of how we grow up in the bank. I do want to thank one and all for coming here, and it's honorable here. Thank you.
Many congratulations, and thank you very much, sir. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the last award for the evening, the Financial Express CFO Award Lifetime Achievement Award 2024. Now, this particular award is being conferred to a veteran financial professional who, with his vision and exemplary contribution, has not only shaped the future of the Indian industry, but has become an inspiration for many. The Lifetime Achievement Award 2024 is being conferred to Mr. Sushil Agarwal, Group CFO, Aditya Birla Group. Can we have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, along with a standing ovation for Mr. Sushil Agarwal. Now, Sushil Agarwal has spent a lifetime at the Aditya Birla Group, having joined as a youngster in the mid-80s. Now, he's worked across several of the group's companies as a trusted lieutenant of both the late Aditya Vikram Birla and current chairman Kumar Mangalam Birla. Now, with his rich and varied experience, he rose from the ranks to become the group CFO, managing the finances of a $66 billion conglomerate. Apart from keeping track of the day-to-day accounts across companies, Mr. Agarwal has overseen many complex transactions, mergers and acquisitions, including the buyout of Novelis by Hindalco and more recently the rupees 20,000 crore fundraise by Vodafone Idea, a challenging effort. Recognizing his contribution to not just the AB Group, but to the world of Indian corporate finance, the FE CFO Awards jury awarded Mr. Sushil Agarwal the Lifetime Achievement Award. And on that note, request you to please share a few words this evening.
So, thank you everyone, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm deeply honored to receive this Lifetime Achievement Award. It may sound like I'm retiring, but let me tell you that I'm going nowhere. I'm going nowhere. It's truly humbling to be recognized. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Financial Express to recognizing the efforts of financial community. I'm thankful to the esteemed jury led by K.K. Mistry. I can't see him, although he was in the plane today morning. And Ashu, Rajiv, Amit I saw somewhere here. Thank you so much for considering me worthy of such an honor. There are many familiar faces in the room today, and some of you may know that I joined the group in 1889 and went up to late to work for Mr. Aditya Birla within a year of my joining. I'm fortunate to have worked with, or at least had the opportunity to interact with, a fourth generation of Birla family. Although I did not directly serve late Shri B.K. Birla ji, grandfather of our current chairman, Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla. However, I have fond memories of my interaction with him as well. Of course, I have had a long stint of work with current chairman, Mr. Birla, and now with new generation, Aryaman and Ananya. I must say, the same humble nature and strong value exists with all the family members. I have always had a great appreciation for the way in which they differentiate between family and business. They practice corporate governance, and even before the word possibly was not coined. I have worked with 9 bosses. A lot of people may not know this. I've worked with 9 bosses in my career of 3.5 decades. And each one of them has taught me something unique. Thanks to all my 9 bosses. Although it is customary to recognize the colleagues who I have worked with during this 3.5 decades. But in my case, it is not only customary, I genuinely mean it, that my colleagues have worked for me and so that I can be in front of you all today. In my own definition, there are 2 sets of colleagues. कुछ फोटो खिंचाने वाले होते हैं और कुछ काम करने वाले होते हैं. In my case, I only have later. I dedicate this award to all my colleagues Some of them are sitting in this room. Thank you, my colleagues. The finance function or finance profession is one that demands precision, integrity, and thirst to learn new things. It is an art to think beyond the basic function of finance and be useful to the larger goal of any organization. It is an icing, sir. It is an icing on the cake for receiving this award from someone who I personally admire and respect for his simplicity and his drive to achieve results. I've known the Honorable Minister before he took up this position. Thank you, sir, for being with me on this memorable occasion. Again, for me, it is not just customary to talk about the contribution of family. I know they have missed me in many occasions and sometimes found me there physically but not mentally present there. But I'm glad most of them are here today with me. I admire their patience, but must say that I'm around for you all the time. I want to express my deepest gratitude to my second better half, Anita, my daughter, Tanushri, my son, Anshul Agarwal, and his wonderful wife, Vrinda. Vrinda could not be here today because of her 3-month-old, 9-month-old Vedansh, who is actually having cold and cough. Thank you for your love and support. Congratulations to all the winners tonight. Your achievements inspire us all, and I'm honored to be here in your company. I think it would be appropriate to end with my favorite line, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. Thank you so much. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Once again, congratulations, and thank you, sir, for inspiring us. Let me tell you that the illustration is made by Rohit Forde, the illustrator at Financial Express. All right. Moving ahead, we would like to express our gratitude to our chief guest for gracing this evening with his presence. We have Mr. Varghese presenting the minister with a memento. And this particular portrait is made by Shyam Kumar Prasad, the chief illustrator, Financial Express. Thank you. Request you to please remain on stage, because we'd now like to request Mr. Shamal Majumdar, all of our winners and our jury members to kindly come on stage for a group photograph. I would also like to invite our event partners for the group photograph, Ms. Nandita Pai, Partner and CFO Program Leader, Deloitte, India, Mr. Sandeep Runwal, Director, Runwal Group, Mr. Manoj Jindal, IAS, Joint Managing Director, MSRDC, Mr. Nikhil Naik, Managing Director, Naik Insurance Broking. Let's capture this moment, ladies and gentlemen, with a group photograph. I'd like to request the winners to please come on stage as well for the group photo. Once again, for our group photograph, let me invite Ms. Nandita Pai, Mr. Sandeep Runwal, Mr. Manoj Jindal, Mr. Nikhil Naik. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this wonderful evening comes to an end. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today and making it an unparalleled success. An initiative of this scale and this proportion could not have been achieved without the unstinting support from numerous quarters. We would like to thank our partners, our presenting partner, Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation, MIDC, our associate partners, Runwal Group, Refex Industries, Maharashtra State Road Development Corporation, MSRDC, and Nike Insurance Broking, NIB. And of course, our wealth partner, Nuvama Private, our knowledge partner, Deloitte India. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It was indeed a pleasure having all of you here. And we hope to see you next year round as well. Please do join us for cocktails and dinner being served as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.